Dawn, November 17, 1525. On the banks of the Indus River, a horse drinks from the misty water. A man dismounts, his boots stepping onto Indian soil for the first time. He kneels, touches the earth, and lifts a handful of it to his face. This moment changed everything. His name was Babur. Behind him, an army of 12,000 men crossed the river on boats and makeshift rafts. Before him, an empire of millions awaited. This was not a raid for plunder. This was a war of conquest. Babur did not announce his invasion with blaring trumpets or grand declarations. He moved like a hunter, silent and unseen. His army marched through the Punjab countryside, a ghost force moving through the land. Indian villagers watched from distant hilltops. They had seen invaders before. Turks, Afghans, Persians, waves of them had come and gone. But this felt different. At night, Babur's camps were dark. No great bonfires lit the sky. The discipline was absolute. His men traveled light, without the usual sprawling supply trains or baggage. They carried only their weapons. And among them were weapons India had never seen before, matchlock rifles and cannons, harbingers of a new age of warfare. Inside his war council tent, Babur studied a map with his commanders. His strategy was clear and decisive. He told them, "We do not fight armies yet. First, we take cities." Fast, his finger tapped 3 locations: Sialkot, Lahore, and finally, Delhi. A commander worried. "My Lord Ibrahim Lodi's spies will report our position." Babur offered a cold smile. "Good. Let him hear. By the time he moves, we'll already be inside his walls." On November 22, 1525, the garrison city of Sialkot woke to a normal dawn. Guards yawned on the walls. The market began to open. Children played in the streets. They had no idea death was already at their gates. Before sunrise, hidden by the forest, Babur's artillery moved into position. Soldiers rolled massive bronze cannons forward, carefully measuring gunpowder. Indian fortresses were built to withstand arrows and catapults. They were not built for this. Babur raised his hand. A moment of silence. Then he dropped it. The explosion was immense. The city walls crumbled into dust and smoke. Inside, people screamed, running in terror as guards scrambled in confusion. The sound alone broke their spirit. Another explosion, and a main gate collapsed. Sialkots fell in for hours. Babur rode through the conquered streets, fires burning around him. But he did not order a massacre or permit widespread looting. When he saw his soldiers harming civilians, he roared, "These people will be my subjects. Discipline." A child watched him from a doorway, terrified but unharmed. Babur wanted to instill fear, not hatred. On the map of Punjab, Sialkot was the first city to be marked with the Mughal flag. The news reached the palace in Delhi. A messenger burst into Ibrahim Lodi's throne room, breathless. "Sultan Sialkot has fallen." The nobles gasped. Lodi stood, incredulous. "What? How many attackers?" The messenger replied, "Reports say 10 to 12,000, my lord." Lodi laughed, and his court nervously joined in. 12,000. And they took Sialkot. He sat back down, dismissing the threat. Sialkot's governor must have been sleeping. "Send reinforcements." One of his nobles cautiously interjected, "My lord, there are reports of strange weapons, explosions that destroyed walls." Lodi waved his hand. "Every defeated coward blames magic weapons. This Babur is nothing." But while Lodi scoffed, Babur was already planning his next move. A scout reported back to his camp, "My lord, Delhi has not mobilized." Lodi does not take us seriously. Babur nodded slowly, calculating. "Good. Then we move faster." Within 2 weeks, 3 cities fell in the same devastating fashion. But Babur's real weapon was not gunpowder. It was terror. Refugees fleeing the fallen cities flooded the roads toward Delhi. In the markets, they told horrific stories to terrified crowds. The walls exploded like paper. One cried, another whispered, "They have demons, metal tubes that vomit death." Babur understood a fundamental truth of warfare. An army fights with swords, but a nation fights with its imagination. He was conquering their minds before he even reached their armies. Doubt began to fester in Delhi's court. Nobles argued in private. "We must act now." "Lahore is next," one insisted. Another replied, "The Sultan refuses to believe." A third whispered a dangerous thought. "Perhaps he chose the wrong Sultan." Doubt is deadlier than any weapon. In December 1525, Babur reached Lahore, the jewel of Punjab. Unlike Sialkot, Lahore was ready. Its governor stood on the massive walls, watching the Mughal army approach. A huge garrison was assembled, complete with armored war elephants and thousands of soldiers. "Let this foreign dog come," the governor declared to his men. "We have 5 times his numbers." From a distance, Babur surveyed the city through a spyglass. His commander noted, "My lord, they are heavily fortified. A siege could take months." Babur lowered the spyglass. "We don't have months. Lodi will mobilize eventually." His eyes narrowed. "Bring the cannons forward." All of them. He gambled everything on one devastating strike. At dawn, an absolute silence fell over the plains. The defenders of Lahore watched nervously. Babur nodded to his artillery commander. A massive, coordinated bombardment erupted. Dozens of cannons fired simultaneously. Sections of Lahore's walls crumbled into ruin. Chaos and smoke filled the air. For 3 hours, the cannons roared without pause. Inside the city, buildings shook and people hid, their ears ringing from the endless thunder. In his palace, the terrified governor shouted, "Send word to the gates. Offer terms, offer terms." A white flag was raised on the walls. Lahore had surrendered without a single Mughal soldier needing to fight his way inside. Babur rode through the opened gates as the citizens watched in stunned, silent awe. But victory has a cost. That night, alone in his tent, Babur was exhausted. His hands shook slightly as he removed his armor. His men were tired. Supplies were running low. And worse, Delhi's army was finally on the move. A commander entered his tent. "My lord, scouts report Lodi has mobilized. 90,000 men, or elephants, heavy cavalry." Babur stared at the candle flame for a long moment. Then he spoke quietly. "Then we cannot fight here." His commander was shocked. "Retreat, but we just took Lahore." Babur stood and walked to his map. "I did not come to hold cities," he said firmly. "I came to break an empire." He traced his finger to a new location. "We make our stand here, Panipat, a small town on a flat plain." It was the perfect killing ground for the battle Babur had been planning all along. In January 1526, to the confusion of everyone, Babur abandoned Lahore. In Delhi, the news was met with celebration. "He's retreating." Nobles cheered. "The foreign dog runs." Ibrahim Lodi smiled triumphantly. "You see, I told you, he fears me." Lodi believed he had won without a fight. But a few wise heads knew better. One old noble watched the celebrations grimly and muttered, "No, he's not retreating. He's choosing his battlefield." Babur's army marched with calculated purpose toward Panipat. He was not retreating, he was hunting. Surveying the flat open ground, Babur smiled to himself. "Perfect." He turned to his commanders. "Here, we dig in, we wait, and when Lodi comes, we end this. 2 armies, 2 strategies, 1 battlefield." Lodi's massive force marched confidently, a sea of men, elephants, and banners, accompanied by drums and trumpets. Meanwhile, Babur's much smaller force worked quietly, digging trenches, positioning their cannons, and building wooden barriers. Babur had spent 25 years losing battles, but he had learned from every single defeat. Ibrahim Lodi, surrounded by luxury and arrogance, had never lost a major battle in his life. And that, as history was about to prove, was his greatest weakness.